The doors opened and revealed the labyrinthine halls of a huge complex. Located beyond the huge golden doors was a towering golden archway, marked with a glowing hieroglyph for danger may contain cosmic curses, leading to the sacred laboratory of Ram Tah, one of the most respected, and definitely feared, scientists in the known galaxy. The lab itself a chaotic fusion of ancient Egyptian mysticism and wildly over-engineered futuristic technology. Enormous stone pillars, carved with glowing equations in ancient script, holding up a ceiling that flickers between the endless void of space and a holographic sky filled with floating chariot-shaped starships. Wall sconces shaped like Anubis heads don't just provide light. They occasionally dispense snacks, for reasons Ram Tah refuses to explain. At the center of the chamber, the great altar of experimentation, which is definitely just a large stone slab with a suspicious number of scorch marks, sits surrounded by bubbling vials, hovering holograms, and a quantum computing device that has been humorously shaped like a pyramid, because it looks cooler that way. Stray robotic scarabs scuttle across the floor, carrying delicate vials of glowing, possibly sentient goo, while a 7-foot-tall mecha sphinx occasionally asks riddles before allowing access to the restricted research files. Ram Tah himself is something to behold. Dressed in shimmering, gold-lined robes that double as a fully functional biohazard suit, he struts through his lab with the confidence of a man who has absolutely caused at least 3 galactic-wide incidents, but somehow convinced people it was all part of the plan. His ceremonial headdress is actually a quantum supercomputer, constantly whispering helpful reminders like, "Ram Tah, you have not eaten in 72 hours," or "Ram Tah, you have set your robe on fire again." His eyes glow faintly blue, an unintended side effect of an early experiment involving cosmic energy, an unstable warp core, and a sandwich he left in a reactor for too long. His left arm has been replaced with an advanced cybernetic limb, not out of necessity, but simply because he thought it would make him look more mysterious. The original arm is in a containment field in the corner of the lab, occasionally giving a thumbs up. Ram Tah's prized possession is his pet Heka drone, a floating golden scarab named Tah, which hovers around him making sarcastic comments and occasionally deploying a tiny fire extinguisher when things inevitably catch fire. When asked about his latest experiment, Ram Tah strokes his non-existent beard, narrows his glowing eyes, and dramatically declares,
"I am this close to unlocking the secrets of immortality, or possibly just inventing self-replicating wine. Either way, a victory for science."
His assistants, a long-suffering team of robed interns known as the Order of the Lab-Coated Jackals, simply nod and prepare the fire suppression systems for the inevitable explosion, followed by fire. And so, within these hallowed walls, Ram Tah continues his work, pushing the boundaries of science, defying logic, and proving that even in the farthest reaches of the future, mad scientists will always find a way to make things dramatic. Ram Tah, master of slightly questionable science, has long been obsessed with the Guardians, an ancient, long-extinct alien race whose ruins and technology are scattered across the galaxy. Some scientists approach Guardian research with caution and respect. Ram Tah, on the other hand, approaches it the same way he approaches everything, with reckless enthusiasm, dramatic hand gestures, and an alarming disregard for personal safety. His research, conducted in his sacred laboratory of slightly unethical science, has led to some of the most groundbreaking discoveries in Guardian technology. It has also led to 3 explosions, 5 temporary time loops, and 1 unfortunate incident where his consciousness briefly swapped places with a Guardian AI. There are many stories, some true, others exaggerated, such as the episode with the Guardian relic. Ram Tah once brought a Guardian relic into his lab and decided to lick it to see if it tasted of cosmic wisdom. It did not. It did, however, briefly turn his voice into something similar to a siren with a harmonic frequency that caused glass to shatter across the entire station. Then everyone knows about the slightly cursed Guardian data core incident. After hacking into a Guardian data terminal, Ram Tah unknowingly triggered a dormant security protocol. His lab assistants reported that, for 48 hours, he spoke exclusively in an unknown alien dialect while glowing faintly yellow. He now refers to this event as the time I became a galactic oracle, and claims he had an incredible conversation with the universe, though no one can verify this. Of most interest to Cecil and TOG, there is the integrated Guardian Technology Human Wine Dispenser initiative. In an attempt to integrate Guardian technology into everyday life, Ram Tah designed a Guardian-inspired wine dispenser, believing their energy conduits could revolutionize beverage dispensing and cooling whilst perfecting the taste, body, and color of wine. The resulting device turned the wine into a bioluminescent, mildly radioactive sludge. The only person who drank it was Ram Tah himself, claiming it had notes of starfire, limestone, and existential static electric discharge. Despite the occasional catastrophic failure, Ram Tah remains convinced that he is on the verge of his greatest discovery, unlocking the full potential of Guardian technology to ascend beyond mortal limitations. He envisions a future where humans can merge with Guardian AI, wield powerful ancient energy, and possibly become master of the close-quarter combat championship, dislodging that cowgirl RPG Emma. Okay, maybe not. Possibly the super chicken. The rest of the scientific community, meanwhile, continues to monitor his work with a mix of admiration, terror, and the overwhelming urge to keep the station's evacuation protocols permanently on standby. And so, the great Ram Tah continues his work, pushing the boundaries of Guardian research with a heart full of curiosity, a mind full of chaos, and a pet scarab drone that constantly reminds him to think twice before hitting the go button. Cecil whistled.
Bloody hell, TOG. This place, it like the ancient Egyptians moved in and bred with a supercomputer. Feels like I should have brought a fedora and a whip.
As they walked over to where Ram Tah stood, Smurphy suddenly turned to them, but not with his usual head tilt or wagging tail. No! His voice resonated inside their heads.
Listen to me. Do not tell Ram Tah where I come from.
TOG and Cecil froze mid-step. A strange pressure tingled in their skulls, like someone had just reached in and tickled their brains. Cecil's mouth flapped uselessly.
What? Wait, TOG, did Smurphy just say something in your head?
TOG blinked.
I think he did.
Cecil clutched his flask.
Blimey, I think someone has spiked my wine. I have a space puppy living in my head that sounds like Smurphy. I wonders if I have gained godly powers since I have been adopted as the deity to the coffee creatures.
TOG turned to Smurphy, eyes wide.
Smurphy, since when could you talk in people's heads?
Not now.
Smurphy's voice echoed in their minds.
Just trust me.
Cecil leaned in, whispering,
Can you hear me now? If I just think it. What about now?
Smurphy stared at him blankly. Cecil's eyes went wide.
He can! Talk! Think something!
Doris, who had been silent up until now, crackled over their comms.
Oh, wonderful. The dog is psychic. Perhaps now he can finally explain why he licks his own bum so much.
TOG shook his head.
Enough. Let's just go to Ram Tah before he sees us and starts asking questions.
The deeper they walked into the tomb-like structure, the more unsettling it became. Statues of long-forgotten beings loomed over them, their glowing eyes seeming to follow the trio. Strange whispers echoed around them.
I don't like this,
muttered TOG. Cecil, however, was having a grand time.
It's brilliant. Feel like I'm in one of them adventure holovits. You reckon there's traps, spikes, maybe a boulder that chases us?
Doris sighed.
One can only hope.
Finally, they reached the center of the laboratory. Standing before them, Ram Tah. Ram Tah regarded them with a raised eyebrow.
You are not what I expected.
Cecil stepped forward, giving a flourishing bow.
You were expecting us? Wow! Sir, we are but humble explorers of the unknown, seekers of truth, and we come in peace.
Smurfy sat quietly, watching Ram Tah with an intensity that went unnoticed. TOG cleared his throat.
My name is TOG. This is Cecil and this is Smurphy. We need your help. We have learned that there's something ancient, something evil growing in the depths of the galaxy, and mankind is at risk of being annihilated. And we think the answers are buried in the past. We are told that you may be able to help us find out what is happening. We are told you might be able to help us find out why this is happening and what to do about it.
Ram Tah chuckled.
Oh, of course. Yes, let's entrust the fate of the galaxy to two old drunks and a dog.
Cecil grinned.
Finally, someone gets it. I knew it. We are destined to be galactic heroes.
Ram Tah sighed.
I would not go as far as to say that. How did you come by this information?
Well, we were looking over my ship in its hangar, and a terrifying, spectral, smoky eye monster appeared. It said it could see me, and that I would not be able to stop what is coming, and that the galaxy will fall to an ancient evil. We assumed that this had something to do with the Guardians and the Thargoids. With you being the galaxy's #1 researcher on this topic, we thought we would come to you to see what you think.
I see,
replied Ram Tah in amusement.
Well, my studies have, as everyone knows, revealed that an ancient humanoid race we know as the Guardians were in conflict with the Thargoids millions of years ago. Whilst they managed to defeat the Thargoids, unfortunately, their defense systems seemed to take offense at being treated like machines, developed their own sentiency, and turned on their creators. This led to, what we believe, the total destruction of the Guardians. Now, you're telling me that you were approached by some monster hinting at the galaxy being at risk. This is very strange. I am not sure why you think this has anything to do with the Guardians.
Ram Tah turned his eyes to Smurfy and paused, as if waiting for a reaction. Smurfy scratched his ears absent-mindedly.
Well,
Ram Tah continued,
there is something that may be of interest. Something that happened recently. There have been reports of strange activity at an ancient Guardian site in the Sinuefe region. It is approximately 680 light-years from here. I am not sure of the details, but if what you say is true, and that these events are due to something that happened recently, this might be the best place to start.
TOG nodded.
Right. We'll start there. 680 light-years, that's nothing to sneeze at, but I am sure we can make it.
TOG said, with a hint of doubt in his voice. But then Smurfy spoke, out loud.
Before we go, I have a question.
Ram Tah tilted his head.
Go on.
Smurfy's eyes locked onto his.
What do you know about the first humans?
Silence. For the first time, Ram Tah hesitated. It was only for a fraction of a second, but Smurfy caught it. Ram Tah exhaled slowly.
There is a theory that the Guardians, those ancient beings, were not just an advanced alien race, that they were, in fact, the original humans. But there is no proof of this. It is all speculation. Let's call it a conspiracy theory. If this were true, it would mean that the human race has existed for millions of years. And as we all know, this cannot be true.
TOG frowned.
And the Guardians were wiped out by some AI defense system they created to fight the Thargoids?
Ram Tah nodded.
Yes. During the Thargoid War, two factions of the Guardian race formed. One who promoted the use of natural weapons, let's call them biological warfare, whereas the other promoted the use of technology. This led to a second civil war after the Thargoids had been defeated. As the Guardians developed their AI capabilities, it is believed that the AI became sentient. It is then that the AI decided the Guardians could not coexist with them as they are natural destroyers, therefore wiped out the whole race, save for a few who might have escaped. But I, nor anyone else who have researched this, have ever been able to prove it.
Smurfy narrowed his eyes.
He's lying. I am not sure about what, but he is not telling the whole truth. He is hiding something.
Smurfy said into TOG's and Cecil's mind. Cecil's head whipped round and looked up and down in surprise. Ram Tah noticed, and a quizzical look crossed his face. But only for a second. There was something Ram Tah wasn't saying. Smurfy could feel it. He could almost see it in the way the man held himself. What does he know? What is he hiding? Who is Ram Tah truly? TOG clapped his hands.
Right, so we go find this Guardian site, see what's there, and hopefully figure out how to stop whatever's coming.
Ram Tah smirked.
Yes, indeed. And good luck.
Cecil grinned.
Luck? Ha! We're the bloody dream team, Mr. Ram Tah, sir. An unstoppable force of heroism, bravery, and adventurous zeal.
Doris's voice crackled into their comms.
You're an unstoppable force of stupidity. But yes, please go. The sooner you die, the sooner the galaxy can move on.
TOG sighed.
Right, back to the ship.
As they were leaving the lab, Smurfy glanced back one last time at Ram Tah. The scientist was watching him too, with a little too much interest and focus. And in that moment, Smurfy knew Ram Tah was not a friend. He wasn't quite sure why, but he knew. Ram Tah folded his arms and regarded Smurfy, then TOG with a smirk. He then announced,
I hate to break it to you, Commander, but that heap of junk you arrived in is not going to get you where you need to go.
TOG scowled.
What do you mean? The orange Sidewinder is a fine vessel.
Ram Tah raised an eyebrow.
It's barely a vessel. It looks like a cheap toaster with wings.
Cecil nodded solemnly.
Aye, and it flies like one too.
Doris's voice crackled over the comms.
I concur. I've seen escape pods with more structural integrity. Frankly, I'm surprised it hasn't disintegrated into a million pieces yet.
TOG protested.
I love that ship. It's got history. We have been through battles together. It's seen things.
Ram Tah smirked.
Yes, and from the look of it, most of those things were crashes.
Cecil giggled.
He's got you there, old chap.
TOG huffed.
Fine, what do you suggest we fly instead?
Ram Tah gestured dramatically toward a nearby hangar door. With a deep, mechanical groan, the doors slid open, revealing an asp explorer. TOG's expression soured instantly. His whole body tensed as if someone had just kicked him square between the legs.
No.
TOG said. Ram Tah arched an eyebrow.
Excuse me. What do you mean? No.
TOG pointed an accusatory finger at the ship.
I am not getting into that ship. No way.
Ram Tah was bemused.
You have a problem with my ship.
I have a problem with all asps. They're ugly. They handle like a drunken elephant, and they sound like a flippin' knackered old tractor from the 20th century,
said TOG. Cecil was a little confused.
How would you know what that sounds like, TOG?
Cecil pointed to the asp.
That, my friend, is a proper explorer ship, TOG. It's roomy, it's fast, and has a decent jump range.
That's not the point.
TOG threw his hands in the air.
It's got that sound. That horrible engine noise.
He mimicked the asp's engine sound in the most exaggerated, obnoxious way possible. Ram Tah sighed.
It's either the asp or you try flying your flying dustbin through deep space and see how that goes.
TOG's face contorted like a man being forced to eat a raw onion. Doris chimed in.
Commander, I hate to agree with another life form, but he has a point. The orange Sidewinder is essentially an ailing coffin at this stage. The asp, while hideous, has the advantage of functioning.
TOG groaned.
I swear I'd rather fly a Thargoid interceptor than this piece of...
Cecil cut him off.
All right, but look on the bright side. It's got plenty of room for us to stretch out. Maybe even a nice little bar area.
Ram Tah smirked.
Yes, it does have a well-stocked minibar.
Tog blinked.
Minibar?
Ram Tah nodded.
Liquor, wine, even a couple of rare Lavian brandy bottles.
Tog grumbled.
Fine, but I want you all to know I am only agreeing under duress.
Doris sighed.
It's going to be a long trip.
Ram Tah regarded them with a serious expression.
All right, listen up. What you're about to do isn't just a sightseeing trip. The Guardian ruins are ancient, powerful, and potentially lethal.
Tog looked concerned.
Oh, great. So, not only do I have to fly a bloody asp, but now you're telling me the ruins are going to try and kill us.
Ram Tah continued.
Where you are going is a well-preserved ruin, but reports suggest some of the relics there are still active. If this is the case, there will be some active Guardian drones, part of the AI defense system.
Cecil perked up.
Active, eh? What do they do? Grant wishes. Give us eternal life. Because I could use some of that. My knees are knackered.
Ram Tah looked at Cecil with an air of superiority.
More likely, they'll blast you into tiny vaporized pieces.
Cecil gulped.
Right. Less excited now.
Tog asked.
So what do we actually do when we get there?
Ram Tah walked over to a workbench and picked up a compact scanner module.
This,
He said, holding it up.
component placement, is installed in the SRV's systems. It's designed to scan Guardian technology and decode any data that it finds. Get to the site, use the scanner on any obelisks or relics, and bring back whatever information you can. Whatever you do not enter the central altar and drop a relic on it. That might lead to something you really don't want to experience. But whatever is going on there recently should be stored in the data logs. We can then decipher these logs and see what is happening.
Smurphy's ears twitched.
What about Thargoids?
Ram Tah hesitated for just a fraction of a second before saying.
It's unlikely that you'll run into them.
Tog narrowed his eyes.
That was the most suspicious pause I've ever heard.
Cecil grinned.
Aye, old chap, that was a proper... You're definitely going to run into Thargoids kind of pause.
Ram Tah sighed.
Fine. Yes, there's a possibility of Thargoid presence near the Guardian site. If they detect you poking around their enemy's ruins, they might take interest in you.
Cecil scoffed.
But how offended can a big alien bug get?
Ram Tah raised an eyebrow.
Ever seen a Thargoid interceptor dissolve a fully shielded corvette in under 10 seconds?
Cecil's face paled.
Right. So, very offended then.
Ram Tah nodded.
I'd recommend extreme caution, not just with the Thargoids but also ruins. The Guardians may be long gone, but their technology is still very much alive. And if you do encounter drones, they will see you as a threat and attempt to eliminate you.
Tog suggested.
Okay, got it. If we see anything move, run.
Ram Tah shrugged.
No shame in survival.
Doris chimed in over the intercom.
If discretion is the better part of valor, then you two should be the bravest cowards in the galaxy.
Tog groaned.
I swear, I'm going to reprogram you into a Galnitopedia one of these days, Doris.
Ram Tah interjected.
Whilst you are there, I'd suggest you move quickly. The longer you stay at the ruins, the greater the risk.
Tog adjusted his flight jacket.
Right, Guardian ruins, scan the glowy bits, avoid being vaporized or eaten by bugs. Sounds simple enough?
Cecil clapped his hands together.
Easy peasy. Let's go poke some ancient alien tech with a stick.
Smurphy, however, remained silent, staring at Ram Tah. His glowing collar flickered slightly, but there was no time for questions. It was time to fly. As the three friends turned to leave, Smurphy hesitated. His nose twitching, he could not shake that feeling. Something wasn't right. Ram Tah had been helpful. Too helpful. His knowledge of the Guardians was unmatched, sure. But there was something else behind those sharp eyes. A hesitation. a carefully chosen set of words. Smurphy was on high alert. Smurphy's voice entered Tog and Cecil's minds like a whisper on the wind.
Don't trust him, Tog. I cannot work out why, but we need to go into this with our eyes wide open.
Stop doing that,
Tog thought. Smurphy replied,
I have to. I need to tell you that I am not completely sure about this, but I cannot say it out loud. And for the record, I cannot read minds. If you talk to me in your head, I can hear you. But I am not a mind reader,
Cecil announced, to cover for the awkward situation.
Right. No time for fanciful space wizards. We've got some ancient alien ruins to interrogate.
Cecil straightened his coat, puffed out his chest and cleared his throat.
Ahem.
Tog groaned.
Oh, here we go.
Cecil took a deep breath and raised his flask.
Once more, we noble few, brave old slightly inebriated warriors, march toward destiny. Though the galaxy may tremble, though the Thargoids may screech, though the ruins of the past may whisper warnings in the dust. We do not quake,
Tog muttered.
You do.
Cecil ignored him.
For we are the stubborn, the wrinkly, the slightly incontinent. We are the warriors of the olden days, undeterred by danger, unshaken by fear, and only occasionally confused by technology. The galaxy may throw its worst at us, but we shall meet it head on, or at least from a safe distance with a badly thought-out escape plan.
Smurphy rolled his eyes. Tog said,
Are you done?
Cecil took a final swig from his flask.
Aye, that'll do.
Tog turned to Ram Tah.
Right, we're off. We'll be back when we've found whatever it is you aren't telling us.
Ram Tah just smirked again.
Good luck, Commander Tog.
It was just then a flicker of realization crossed his face, just for a moment, and there it was. A slight shiver, some element of doubt, maybe even fear. But why? And so, against all odds, common sense, and the sneaking suspicion that they should have stayed at the bar, our brave heroes set forth into the unknown armed with a barely functional ship, a flask of something unholy, and an unwavering belief that winging it is a valid survival strategy. Tog, the balding beacon of barely contained disaster and captain of catastrophe. Cecil, the booze-powered oracle of bad decisions and cringe-worthy epic monologues, whose liver should be classified as an ancient relic. Smurphy, the unnervingly psychic space terrier. And Doris, the AI who remains deeply disappointed in them all. Meanwhile, Mrs. Tog, smarter, sharper, and infinitely more terrifying, waits at home, shaking her head, knowing full well that her husband is about to blunder straight into something way beyond his capability to manage. Walks over to her communication terminal and inserts a device she retrieved from her sleeve. The terminal bleeped. Mrs. Tog said, I think it's time. Let me explain what is happening. Then there is that thing lurking in the shadows of the void, watching, waiting, the ancient, malevolent force stirs. The evil eye, its gaze unblinking, its intentions unknown. Where does its eye stare? On whom does it scry? The eye narrows for a second, then flares wide. It screams. Ram Tah walks to his research desk, presses a button, and a hidden panel opens. He inserts his finger. The screen flickers. We have a problem, he says. But to whom? The ragtag crew boarded the Asp, and as the void whispers their fate, as forgotten obelisks pulse with eldritch warnings, and as Tog loudly complains about flying an Asp, one thing is certain. Either they're about to make history, or Doris finally gets her wish, and they all die in a blaze of idiocy, incompetence, and what would be, according to Cecil, a blaze of glory.